This growing demand has pushed home prices higher, solidifying home ownership as a core part of the American dream. But with median home prices soaring, many are now being priced out. That's because inflation drives up the cost of everything, including assets. And since wages have failed to keep pace, affordability has become a major issue. To make matters worse, large institutional investors have entered the housing market, further limiting the already constrained supply. The average person simply can't compete with an institutional buyer's all-cash offer, leaving many Americans struggling to achieve home ownership in a system increasingly stacked against them. Even though wages may be rising nominally, the question is, are they really keeping up with inflation? From November 2020 to September 2024, nominal wages increased by 19.2%, but during that same period, consumer prices surged by 20.6%. This means that in real terms, wages are actually more than 1% lower than they were 4 years ago. Since 2020, the dollar has lost 25% of its purchasing power. That's about 6% a year. So those annual raises of 3% are barely scratching the surface when inflation is eating away at the value of your money. With inflation on the rise, home ownership out of the picture, and economic mobility stagnating, younger generations face an increasingly worsening situation. Hence, why I've said the economy has collapsed in a sense. It's not a large bubble burst, but a slow, crippling decline in affordability. As inflation persists, asset prices continue to rise, making the rich even richer. But if wages fail to keep up for the middle class, they're not just priced out of everyday goods and services, they're also locked out of the very assets that generate wealth over time. For generations, the promise between the people and the government has been clear. Work hard, spend responsibly, and you can afford necessities, a home, and a family. But as this contract crumbles, younger generations are left facing a crisis of meaning. Mental health issues are rising, and what I fear most is, what happens as the middle class fades away? What happens when the massive debt must be dealt with, when the only solution is to inflate it away? And what happens when civilization breaks down, forcing us to face the consequences of the choices we've made? This isn't new. It's the classic cycle of the rise and fall of empires. Those at the top become greedy and decadent, and over time, culture fades into moral decay. This issue will be worsened by population collapse, which will put additional pressure on the economy. I can only hope we avoid a Brave New World-style dystopia, where people numb themselves with meaningless pleasures to escape reality. But in many ways, we're already seeing it, with rising addictions and an increasing reliance on vices to cope. The crisis of affordability isn't just an economic one, but a spiritual one, as people struggle to preserve their souls and find meaning in life.